Kaleb Elarms Orr is set for a breakout year for TCU football.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. Thanks for tuning into the show. Thanks for making Locked On Horned Frogs your first listen. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 seasons. We're brought to you today by Monarch Money. If you need help budgeting or investing, building your wealth, try out Monarch Money today. I'll tell you about them later on in the show. We'll also get into TCU baseball taking down DBU on Tuesday night. They're getting ready for a road series against Texas Tech this weekend. Rough Big 12 opening series against Arizona State, but a nice bounce back against a really good program in the DBU Patriots on the road on Tuesday evening. Mike Buddy on Twitter hinting at some big news, like a big week for TCU athletics and the good news starting tomorrow. I'm wondering if that is a Mark Campbell extension that's coming down the pipeline soon, news that it's been completed. But we start today with TCU football. And I have been going through a series of players that I feel like we're forgetting about. Underrated, under the radar players for 2025. We started with Jordan Bailey. I think with all the excitement around wide receiver, with some of the guys that they've added, with some of the guys that they're losing, Jordan Bailey has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, but I believe him and really Major Everhart as well. But I singled out Bailey specifically because when he was healthy at the end of the season last year, they got him more involved. He can bring some great things to this offense with his ability to make big plays. And honestly, they were sort of missing that last year. I discussed the tight end position, whether it's Kamorian Pimpton or DJ Rogers. Chase Curtis is going to be a nice addition to that as well. Getting the tight ends more involved this year and that being a place where the passing game is emphasized more this upcoming season. Flipping over to the defense. This is a guy, I'm imagining most of you know his name. It's not a huge surprise. But Kaleb Elarms Orr, I was talking about the transfer portal last week, and I said a lot of times when we evaluate the transfer portal, we look at it in terms of just 1 year. It's like 1 year rentals. So what is this guy going to do for us next season? And it's just sort of a mental thing because you think portal, you go in for immediate impact. And then the high school recruiting area is where you're trying to find people that are immediate impact players. But for the most part, these are guys that you're going to develop through the course of a couple of seasons, and you hope they project to be really good players. So Kaleb Elarms Orr, when he committed last year, it was sort of late in the process, but it was a big deal because he had an outstanding season at Cal the year before he got to TCU. 87 tackles, 50 of those were solo. He had 6 pass breakups. He had an interception, a sack, a forced fumble. He was Cal's leading tackler 2 years ago. You could argue he was their best defensive player. He had a visit scheduled with Ohio State. That's the type of player he was when he hit the portal. And he decided on TCU. And when he did, my immediate thought was, okay, this is a dude that's going to start. I don't think he would have passed up a potential opportunity to go play at Ohio State if he didn't feel like he was going to get significant playing time at TCU. And he played a lot of snaps. He was in more of a reserve role, but they rotated him in a lot. And he ended up with 54 total tackles, 26 solo tackles, 2 sacks. When he would come downhill on a blitz, you knew about it. He was either getting the quarterback or getting close. He made things happen. He also just looks like a linebacker. And what I mean by that is, it's not really a perfect saying now because this is not how teams travel anymore. But there used to be this saying when we talk about football, like the first guy off the bus. So if you want to show, in the scenario that you're unloading the bus and getting your players off the bus at a new stadium, and you want to show the other team the type of dude you got, you put the biggest and fastest and strongest dude at the front of the line and let him get off the bus first. Kaleb's that type of guy. He looks like a football player. He looks like a linebacker. He's got a great frame, great size. When he gets downhill and starts coming after you, it's intimidating. He flies around and makes plays. He's also pretty athletic. I talked about the 6 pass breakups at Cal. Like, this is a dude that you can put, I mean, you don't want to put him in coverage all the time. That's not his job. But if he has to be there, he can hang. I think one interesting aspect about this defense this season, I love Johnny Hodges. I think he did some really good things. Offenses really starting in that playoff game against Michigan in the second half. And then Georgia continued it. And then for the last 2 years, we've seen it at times. They figured out, okay, we need to find a way to isolate our skill players on these linebackers. And Johnny was a prime target in that effort. They were trying to put him in one-on-one situations with running backs and bring receivers on drag routes across the middle and force him to make plays in space. And that was not an area where he excelled. Now, on the flip side of that, he was their best run defender the past couple of seasons. So you had to find a place for him on the field. Kaleb's more versatile than that. Nnamdi Obaizor, I think that versatility is there. They just got to figure out how to maximize it. I mean, he played safety at one point in his career. So he can cover people. So having those 2 guys on the field is going to be really beneficial. When I discussed the linebacker position, and I went through every position group and I was like, okay, spring transfer portal window, when we're talking about next season, do you need to add somebody? Do you need to just stay put where you're at? I said they need to add 1, possibly 2 linebackers, but it wasn't because I was concerned about the starters at all. I think your starters are going to be really good. I feel like Max Carroll might push, quietly Max Carroll might push for a starting role. Or if there's some politics involved there and you don't feel like you can sit a dude who's been around for 6 years like Nnamdi on the bench, then I believe Max Carroll's going to be more involved in this defense. He's made plays on special teams. He's made plays in games when he's been in that linebacker spot. But the guy leading the charge here is Kaleb Elarms Orr. And he needs to be the dude. He needs to be the dude in the middle, calling out the signals, making plays behind the line of scrimmage. And if your edge rushers this year are better, which we saw Devin Deal, it wasn't a new position for him. He was very comfortable with it. But I do think as the year went on, he really started to emerge more and more. Jonathan Bax potentially on the other side. You've got some young guys you like, especially Chad Woodfork. Your edge rushers, your defensive ends, if they start winning more of these one-on-one battles, well, in a perfect world, you don't have to blitz a lot. But here's the thing. You don't necessarily have to blitz a lot. But it gives you the ability to pick and choose when you want to bring pressure and where you want to bring it from. And Andy Avalos, at his best at Oregon, when he was bringing guys from all different angles and making things happen behind the line of scrimmage, making plays, sacking the quarterback, well, he wasn't doing that as players were, but you understand what I mean. It started with Kayvon Thibodeau winning those battles on the edge. And then it allows you to have some discretion with how you're going to blitz people, when you're going to do it, maybe disguise that a little bit more. You don't feel the need to bring 6, 7, 8 guys every snap of the ball. So with a better pass rush, that in turn should help Kaleb Elarms Orr, who showed a really good ability to get after the quarterback in the blitz game last year. So I'm excited about him. And I'm sure that he's a name that people are thinking about, but I just want to remind folks, he was a really good player for Justin Wilcox and Cal. It wasn't like they moved on from him. He played so well that he found himself with some leverage and saying, hey, I think I can get opportunity elsewhere. I want to explore what my options are. And he ends up at TCU, which was a big deal at the time. And I think they used him well when he was on the field, but I'm ready to see him in a bigger role this year because this is ultimately, I feel like, what he envisioned himself doing is being the leader on defense, being the guy in the middle, and being asked to make plays on a weekly basis. So I feel really good about this spot with your starters. Kaleb, Namdi, Max Carroll. Now your depth behind that is pretty thin. And that's why I believe you need to go get some help there because it's such a physical spot on the team, on the defense. Guys are going to get banged up. It's just inevitable. You hope your linebackers, your linebackers have to play with reckless abandon. Yeah, they got to read their keys and mentally understand what's happening, but you got to go 110 miles an hour, which just that very nature is going to lead itself to guys getting banged up. And also you want to have the luxury of rotating more so that guys are fresh and they're playing their best football when they're on the field. When we come back, TCU women's basketball tournament starts Friday. Could we get some news on Thursday about the future of their coach? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. If you own a business, visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. Listen, finding talent. We talk about it all the time with recruiting. It's the toughest thing to do in college football. It's the toughest thing to do. Finding people that fit what you want to do as a business, that do it well. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, and design, and more. Experts ready to take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert. They have fast and easy hiring and cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork finds affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now to post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and to grow your business today. If you've listened to the show for a while, you know that I have a big family. I'm blessed to have 4 kids. And as all parents are, I'm worried about their future. I'm concerned about it, right? And I want to make sure they're taken care of. So about a year ago, I was just looking through my benefits of my job and I was like, man, I don't feel like I have enough life insurance to take care of my family. So I went through the process. And to be honest with you, it was a pretty arduous process. I wish I would have known about Fabric before I did this. Go to meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege today. Life moves fast. Before you know it, your kids are off to college. They're growing every day. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance, online, right from your couch. You can be covered in under 10 minutes. And in many cases, no health exam is required. It gives you peace of mind. They have affordable coverage. And they also offer digital wills and access to investment accounts. So it's not just life insurance. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies are issued by Western Southern Life Insurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Fabric, give them a try today. Make sure you and your family are taken care of. So the TCU women start their tournament run on Friday afternoon. They'll play Farley Dickinson at 2:30 at Charlemagne Arena. Chance to win that first round matchup. If they do, they'll move on to play the winner of Louisville and Nebraska on Sunday. So a big weekend coming up for Mark Campbell and his squad. And before I started recording this morning, I see Mike Buddy put out this tweet. It's going to be a great, in all caps, week for Frog fans. And the good news starts tomorrow. So, of course, hey, he knows what he's doing. He's throwing something out there. He's trying to get us to latch on. I was trying to think of what that could mean. If any of you have insight and you want to chime in here in the YouTube comments, feel free to do so. But my first thought, so Mike did like a sit down, it seemed like an impromptu, informal press conference with some members of the media earlier this week. And one thing that Steven Johnson pulled from that and reported on was that there's an extension in the works for Mark Campbell. And that Buddy said it's been his top priority since he showed up on campus. That's the type of thing that you don't throw out there in the world unless you know it's happening and feel like it's pretty close to the finish line. So it makes sense that a couple of days later we would get an official announcement that Mark Campbell is locked up long term to coach TCU women's basketball. And I hope that's the case. I said this the other day. Extensions in college sports are basically, I mean, it's not totally locked down, but what it is that you're communicating, it's basically a PR message to other schools. You're saying, hey, back off. And if you want to make some sort of offer, you want to talk to them, it's going to cost you a lot more money now. So that'd be great for this program because it's been a fantastic year. I hope they make a run at least to the second weekend. I'm hoping, Final Four and beyond, obviously, but they're going to have to rebuild this thing next season because of what they've done in the transfer portal. And it doesn't make me nervous because one of the many things that Mark Campbell has shown since he stepped foot on campus here is that he can get people to commit in the transfer portal. You're losing Haley Van Lith. You're losing your big three. Van Lith, Prince, Connor. All going to be gone, which is a big part of your scoring output, right? And honestly, I think they've done a good job of having some role players there that do their jobs well, but a lot of their scoring comes off of action from the big three because defenses are so set on trying to stop them. Everybody else gets open shots. So you need that commitment from your coach that he's going to be here for a while so that you can recruit effectively this offseason. And, women's basketball, I mean, not that movement doesn't happen. It happens every year. Molly Miller at Grand Canyon, who's going to be playing Baylor on Friday. I think Grand Canyon's 32-2. And it's out there right now that she's essentially choosing where she's going to go next. I mean, Arkansas is interested. Mizzou's interested. BYU has an opening now. Maybe they're going to make a move like Arizona State. The number of schools, like she's the biggest name on the market right now. And she's going to make that jump. Mark Campbell made the jump from Sacramento State here. The cool thing about it, though, is if you can make a financial commitment and show that you can win at your current stop, a lot of times people will stay for a long time. And unless like UConn comes open or South Carolina or Tennessee, like, some of the historically great programs, and South Carolina's recently great, but you know what I mean, then you got a good chance to have that relationship last for a long time. So we'll see if that's actually the case, but he's hinting at some sort of news dropping tomorrow. It makes sense that they would announce that right before the big game on Friday afternoon. So as far as this team goes and what they can do, I really think it's going to come down to how good are they defensively. I expect them to score. And they quietly made a really good adjustment. I mean, they went through not really a rough stretch, but, they lost to Oklahoma State. They lost to Kansas State. They had some close games in between there. And all of it was centered around teams were pressuring the ball, were blitzing their guards off these pick and rolls, making life tough. And in most cases, like full court, 90 feet, forcing them to bring the ball up, waste a lot of time getting the ball up the floor. And it messed with their offensive rhythm. And everybody's going to keep doing that. But with Donovan Hunter moving to point guard and with some of the other adjustments they've made, letting Haley Van Lith play off the ball more, at least, until they advance the ball half the time or past the timeline, things have improved. Madison Connor's got to shoot the ball well. Donovan Hunter, Taylor Bigby, they're going to get open threes. Like the nature of, especially Van Lith, how she's able to get in the lane and make things happen off the bounce. It will lend itself to open threes. You got to hit them. Have to. But in those two wins against Baylor, both the conference title game in the regular season and then the Big 12 tournament championship game, what impressed me was it was sort of a rock fight in both games. And given that Baylor was without Little Paige Buggs, their best scorer, you would think that would favor them. They want to keep it in the 50s and 60s. That's the only way they're going to win. They can't run. They don't have the firepower to run with TCU. So they want to slow the game down, force it into a low-scoring game. And TCU found a way to win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't like they ran away with it. In the Big 12 championship game, issue that's popped up a lot this year for them. They just last few minutes, they kind of struggle to score. They'll let teams back in the ball game a little bit. But at the end of it, they handled their business and got the victory. And it was a different style of play than what you typically see from them. And that's the type of versatility they're going to have to show in the tournament to make a run. When we come back, Big 12 Pro Day coming up. So we'll get to see some TCU athletes in action. And then baseball, they beat DBU last night. So that was a big win over a top 15 team. You ever open up your banking app and you're like, wait, what the heck happened to my money? Where did it go? Between dining, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO to give you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you realize just how much you spend on different things and how you can budget smarter and save more. They have all-in-one convenience, so instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and plan long-term goals, and they have easy collaboration. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Bracket breakdown on Amazon Fire TV. Check it out. Isaac Shade, Andy Patton, leading you through every weekend of the tournament. It starts tomorrow. Man, I wish TCU basketball was playing. And the women are. Like, we're getting March Madness, but I wish both teams were involved, obviously. Not going to happen this year for Jamie Dixon's squad. A Big 12 Pro Day going on. So this was an initiative that Brett Yormark started last year. And the guys that are going to benefit from this, it's not Savion Williams. I saw Jeremy Clark from Horned Frog Blitz report that Jack Besh isn't even going to go through the Pro Day process at the Big 12 level, which is fine. He did outstanding things at the Senior Bowl, did well at the Combine. He doesn't really need to show anybody anything. Savion Williams, same type of thing. Doesn't really need to prove much at Big 12 Pro Days. But for some of the other guys, Abe Kamara is going to be out there, right? Like, there's a number of players that maybe are not as high on the list that could make some waves. J.P. Richardson, Trey Sanders, Dalen Wright, Cooper McDonald. There's guys there that can, if they put up some good numbers, form some good relationships, that could be very beneficial to them in the draft process. And again, I like that Brett Yormark is constantly thinking outside the box, trying to find ways to make it happen. And he's really good at that. TCU baseball took down DBU last night. It was a close game really throughout. They ended up winning 8-5. They were up 5-4 going into the top of the ninth inning and scored 3 runs. Brody Green with a big 2-run home run, pulled a hanging breaking ball down the line and got it out of the ballpark. The wind was blowing. I mean, as you know, if you've been in Texas, everywhere really, the wind's blowing like crazy. It was blowing out at DBU's ballpark. So if you got a fly ball in the air, there was a decent chance that it was going to carry a long way. From a pitching perspective, Cole Klecker started the game. He went 2 2/3, kind of battled. He gave up 1 solo home run. He hung in there and made some things happen. Caden Smith gave him an inning after that. He gave up 2 earned runs. Cade Eady had a nice outing. 2 1/3, only 4 hits. Mason Brassfield got out of a jam. And then Braden Sloan came in to save that thing, which I think tells you how important that game was to Kirk Sarloos. It's a midweek game. Yeah, it's DBU, which is the top 15 team in the country, but he wanted to win that one. Anthony Silva had a big hit to give him a 6-4 lead. He went the other way on a fastball, put it in the gap between first and second base and scored a run there. So he's hitting the ball better. Isaac Cadena had a nice 2-run single to break out. They fell behind 3-0 in this game. And honestly, DBU was hitting home runs. TCU really hadn't hit anything that carried aside from Noah Franco. I think had one that went to the warning track. But it looked sort of bleak. And then TCU was able to turn it around, get a victory. So a nice win. They'll play Texas Tech Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Cademan Parker, we'll see what his status ends up being. Would love to see him back in the rotation. Can't say that for sure yet, but hopefully he'll be pitching again. And when you go to Lubbock, man, Tech is, I think, 6-16 overall, but they're coming off a sweep of Houston to start Big 12 play. Be ready for the ball to fly. So that's what it does out there. And hopefully the TCU bats are ready to go hit for hit with the Tech offense that usually at home is about as good as it gets. So that's happening Friday. Also, TCU women's basketball happening Friday as well. This is Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. Don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. We're also free and available wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you back tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.